Well, looky here. It's 1850 Main Street. Come to the radio. I'm Wayne Shepherd here with Dave Zanotti and his cohorts on 1850 Main Street, Rob Walgate and Alan C. Duncan. All right, guys.
On the public square.
Yeah, glad to get grafted into this today.
Hi, Wayne. Welcome. No, this is the public square, but it gives us an opportunity to talk to folks about the blessing that we have to produce quite a number of audio, radio, and podcasting products. Now, people know that I've been the one that was dragged to the table last on podcasting.
Is there a word stronger than dragged?
Well, the funny thing is you were doing podcasts before you would say the word podcast.
I know. It's so funny to hear him say the word now. Yeah.
Long format audio. Yes.
Yeah.
LFAs. Yes.
It's like, this is just what names do. They just shrink definitions.
There's still just a sense, just a hint of discontent when he says podcast.
Well, and I think it's okay to have the explanation as to why. First off, I've been doing radio since just after Wayne started radio, I think, which is a long time. Now, he started in college. I started in high school, but he had me already by a few years.
Okay.
So radio is very near and dear to me and in the whole context of audio communications, whether it's music merging with words and sound effects, and the whole concept of the theater of the mind is a really big deal with me. And I've been doing it my whole life. And it's whether analyzing something like the work of Paul Simon in his great piece with Art Garfunkel in Bookends, and what was that piece all about, or analyzing the incredible work of Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys in Pet Sounds.
Pet Sounds,
or the Beatles in Abbey Road. The whole concept of the theater of the mind and the blending of the arts in imagination. It's been a big deal with me. So I would be a little slow to get dragged through the knothole on the idea that suddenly anyone that could afford a $19 microphone and borrow
has
their
a basement and a laptop,
computer, the laptop, and has an opinion, could suddenly become a national broadcaster and quote influencer.
No, see, I like that about it. I think there's something very democratic, to use that word, about it. And my dad always told me one thing. My dad always said to me, the cream rises to the top over time, given enough time. So if something's good and if somebody has something of value to say, it'll probably get to the front of the line eventually.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's a very fair argument. I really do. The problem is that I get bored easily. And when there's 2 million people who all think they've got a new take on something, and I haven't heard something new after the first 20, I'm probably not sticking around any longer.
Understood. I laughed the other day. Someone said, if only there were a podcast that could tell things that were happening right now. And I said, yeah, it's radio.
Now, see, Alan, I think that's the best point. That's the synthesis of all of this. I think it's fine to have it all. And now I know that it's difficult if you try to do it all. And so we are working in ways to try to create not just an additional, it's almost like a residential audio product. Okay. RAP, just a little dig there, Alan, this is a joke. But a residential, with something that sits online that is transportable at any given time, and is all that sort of moves toward the on-demand podcast reality. But our regular broadcasts, which are so important to the radio stations and to the listeners that we have, in both the 2-minute program of the Public Square, the 5-minute program of the Public Square, the weekend edition of the Public Square, and the 30-minute daily edition of the Public Square. These are all of these products that are out there on a regular basis, coming to people from a nonprofit organization that has a number of production studios now established, but it anchors at the American Mission Center in Valley City, Ohio, where our headquarters is. So all the stuff comes in and flows back out again. It's a big deal. I mean, people could be thinking, well, you got to be a $2, $3, $5, $10 million production company. No, not hardly. Well, you got to have at least like 10, 15 people doing all this, right? Not hardly. So we've got a lot to say and we've got a lot of experience, but we don't have a lot of people and a lot of money and a lot of infrastructure. So we've got to be careful that we really make the main thing, that we don't get stretched out too far.
You know, the amazing thing is lots of studies have shown that radio listenership is not declining and internet radio or podcasting is not taken away from radio. So explain that one.
No, I think it's adding on to it, and we've kind of are inside the circle with some of the major corporations in the country that are actually the biggest in this arena, and they're finding the same thing, Wayne. It's kind of adding on.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea of on demand. I really do. I love the idea. I listen to the Public Square on my phone. My wife and I, every weekend, somewhere we stop on the weekends and make sure we hear the weekend edition of the show.
Yep.
We listen to 1850, usually on the phone. Now, I can also listen on the radio to these programs now, and often I'll pick up the Daily Show on the radio because I happen to be in my car pretty regularly when I'm in Florida where the program is running there, or when I'm in Tennessee, depending on where we are. So we use all of the different pieces and parts.
Yeah.
And Alan had an experience that the only way he could get his job done was through a transistor radio and batteries just a few days ago. When his power went out, he had a whole new epiphany on the value of radio.
You got to have one. Have some batteries and have a radio.
It's critical. It's critical. So we're into all the technologies. And so when we're doing 1850 Main Street, it's sort of like this. There's the Public Square, and the Public Square is where we've been since 1989. It is a place. It is not just a program. It is a fellowship of people who come together, and it's a library of scholarship. It is a lifetime of experiences. And the people who've stuck with this program for years have found it to be incredibly valuable. And so the Public Square, but just a few blocks off the square is 1850 Main Street. And that's where we are working to be as current as we possibly can be to the news of the day, to bring brief forms of podcasting programs on the air so that you can catch a read on what we're seeing on a regular basis.
The 1850 almost has like a barbershop type feel in the sense of what's being discussed today.
Local pub idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And we get some of our best information from barbershops. So this is, where we're downloading a lot of it. So these are the kinds of programs that we're putting out, and all of it's listener supported. When we talk about this all the time, it's listener supported, and it astounds me. I know it astounds you. You and I have talked about this. I remember some of our first meetings in Franklin, Tennessee. We were talking with consultants that were talking about how you get people to respond to what you're putting on the air and so on and so forth. I've been amazed over the years that in the midst of all of this work, we don't have a development department. We don't have one person that does nothing but sit around and figure out how to monetize this or how to get people to give to it. And, we everything we have, we give away. Now, we do have some things we can't afford to give away, so we make them available, and people are grateful to have them. But as far as materials goes, but we don't have like any systematized, big warehouse. You send out this thing, send out this calendar, send out this piece, send out this piece of crystal. I mean, and yet people listen, and because of the impact of these programs in their lives and in their families, they support because they want other people to hear it.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. Let's take a hard turn to our announced theme, at least announced to the four of us. Our theme today was Who's Minding the Store?
Yeah, who's minding the store? So we wanted to have kind of a spontaneous conversation on the challenge that we're facing right now in our country. Here's what's going on. If you take a look and you watch the news, we do. We have about 18 news sources that we monitor every day from around the country, some from around the globe. And there's more, but those are the ones we focus on. You'll notice that about 2:30 in the morning on Mondays, they start to define the news cycle for the first 3 days of the week. And in a big political year like this one, you can always watch the major players in media if they're going to try to shape the news cycle in regards to what the campaigns look like. Well, I've got to tell you, this year, it's like nothing I have ever seen. That's going to be a fuller discussion on the Public Square coming up in a few days, so watch for that one as far as what the media is actually doing and their role. I was watching them roll their stories out on a recent Monday at 2:30 a.m., and I was stunned at how engaged the media is, the corporate media. Now, we're talking about all those corporations that are owned by 6 or 9 big companies, the ones we've talked about, the Harvard study shows, whether we're talking about the Associated Press, ABC News, NBC News, Comcast, Universal, Disney, all the WAPO, New York Times, all those players, Wall Street Journal, all those players. It is amazing to me that they are so dedicated and so focused on this campaign and theming the campaign, defining the campaign. It's no longer like they got memos from the campaign. In the old days, when we ran campaigns and watched campaigns being run, in the old days, you had to make your case to the media to get the coverage. Now the media makes the story as if the campaign doesn't even exist. They're completely an agent in the mix. They're not on the outside reporting. They're on the inside making the news. It's astounding to me on the role that they've decided to begin to play. And they're shifting in all of this. So we're on a short field, which is something we want to talk about in a minute, on the short field that we're on in this election. And in a short field, the media taking this super aggressive position on defining the campaign, defining the players, defining what people should think, they're literally dominating the whole conversation. Right? Kamala Harris hasn't even done she's barely talked to the press at all, but the press is doing nothing but talking about her. How does that work? That's amazing.
It is amazing. And I know in the next segment, we're going to get into this, but the fact of when I hear the media repeat the lines that she says, well, on her first day of office, she will do this. And I'm sitting there shaking my head saying, hasn't she been in the second chair for the past 4 years and none of that stuff's been done? Is anyone going to ask the question, excuse me, who's minding the store right now? Why haven't you done that already?
Okay, who's minding the store? The media is totally dominating the campaign side of it. But you know what's amazing, Wayne? I looked through all these stories and I was looking for one. I think, well, surely let's circle the whole thing and we'll circle back. Thank you, Jen. We'll go back and look and see. And you know, I did not see a single story asking this question. How's Joe Biden doing?
Right.
As if we forgot, hey, the old guy.
He's still president.
He's still minding the store.
Let's take a break. We need a break right here. A deep breath, everybody. We'll come back on the Public Square. We talked about the podcast version of the Public Square and all that in 1850 Main Street. It's super convenient to listen now. Use the smartphone app, the Public Square, and you'll find it free in your app store.
We will be right back for more on the Public Square.
If you're a regular listener to the Public Square, you've heard of the release of the new book, Jesus, His Story. The response has been remarkable. Why the excitement? This is a sample of what readers are saying. Arranging the four Gospels into chronological order put the life of Jesus into perspective. Thank you. One told us, after reading Jesus' story, I knew this would make a great graduation gift for my nephew. Another said, I got my copy of Jesus' story and read it over the weekend. I want to order 6 more. Can't wait to give them to my friends and family. Interested? You can call us at 1-800-522-8683 or order online. Take a fresh look at the greatest story ever told, Jesus, His Story, at thepublicsquare.com.
Every day, 535 people are charged with representing all of us in Washington, D.C. They preside over the largest budget in the world. They hold the Constitution in their hands. They can help protect our liberties or look the other way. 535 people. We put them in office. Isn't it time that we hold them in our prayers? A public service message from the American Policy Roundtable. Spreading the light of liberty across the land. Now back to the Public Square.
Who's minding the store? Our theme on the Public Square today. Glad to have you with us. Dave Zanotti's here, Rob Walgate, Alan C. Duncan. I'm Wayne Shepherd. And who is minding the store, Dave?
All I know is...
And is the store in Delaware? Let's ask that question. Is the store in Delaware?
On the beach.
On a beach.
So there are some people in the media asking, are they asking they're asking who's running the country. Isn't that the right question?
Yeah.
We've got this campaign going on and all of the major news sources are focused on not just commenting on the campaign. We're on a short field. That's a really tricky issue because that was a setup. it was a setup to give whoever was going to take over for Joe Biden a short field.
It was a cover-up.
But then that's the question. Is it a cover-up? Because have they actually been covering up for the health of the president since the first attempt to win the election back in 2020? How long have they been covering up? And now the biggest cover-up of all, who's minding the store? I mean, I hate to be the only one who brings this to the notice of the people of this country, but when we last saw Joe Biden, of course, now that changes it. When I last saw Joe Biden, he was at the Resolute desk. Now I'm looking at him on the beach. Okay. Is it okay to say without any, look, he's not running for the office anymore. You can't accuse anybody of hatred or bias. Let's wish the best for the president of the United States. The man is incapable of running for office, and no one's asking why he's still got the capacity to run the country. I thought the second thing was bigger than the first thing.
It should be.
So I think this is an issue. I think this is a problem. And here's he's not running for office. So why are you talking about this? Look, this is not. Do we understand? I mean, I feel like I'm the only guy.
No, it's not election related at all.
No,
it's not campaign. It's about how does the rest of the world view the United States right now?
Yeah.
Shouldn't the country come before the campaigns? Shouldn't our concern be, we better make darn sure that the White House is covered? I mean, I don't know, when was he on that beach? I mean, like, where was the guy with the football? Where was the Secret Service?
And I think what is happening more so than anything is there is a lot of sympathy out there, because we've all been in that situation where we have an elder parent or grandparent or someone, and we're all like, oh my goodness. Listen, I think everyone's come to the conclusion, inside the Beltway, outside the Beltway, he can't be the one running the Oval Office. We know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Commander-in-Chief.
Yeah. In all fairness, he did, unless we were being fed a line, he did negotiate the exchange with those Americans held in Russia right up to the moment he gave his speech that he wasn't going to run. I mean, he was working the phones.
Sure. Listen, we'll give him full credit on whatever their spokespeople are saying. That's fine. That's good.
Yes, he negotiated it, and I just have a few questions on that. Is why. And again, I'm glad all the folks got home. I'm glad Brittany Griner got home when she got home. But we have Americans that are still over there.
I was going to say they're not all home.
That had medical reasons for having CBD and other oils with them that are still over there that Brittany Griner didn't, but there was a media outcry to bring the basketball player home.
What about our hostages in the Israeli conflict?
Yes, that's a big issue.
I know a family who has someone being held by the Taliban.
So okay, again, wishing the president of the United States no ill, seriously concerned for who's running the White House. All right, now, I understand that there are powerful people that are members of the cabinet and run administrative agencies, and if they weren't really good at their jobs, they most likely wouldn't have those jobs. So obviously, we know the president doesn't run everything. We get that.
Sure.
I mean, you could make a strong case to say, how good was Ronald Reagan in the last few months of his term? Okay. You could ask that question about how much was Bill Clinton paying attention. Okay. That's always a risky thing. But we felt safe and that there were capacity, that everything was covered. We felt everything was covered. My question is everything covered? Mm-hmm. But my bigger question is, why are we the only people that seem to be asking the question, is everything covered? Why is the media so totally focused on who gets the job next, as opposed to making sure that the job that we've got right now gets finished correctly, given all the threats that we're facing right now? And are we setting ourselves up for a big amount of pain? That's my question.
You'd think we would have learned our lesson from history when Woodrow Wilson was incapacitated and basically his wife was running the country and nobody knew it at the time. Yeah. And now we have a 24-hour news cycle. And so why is it that this isn't being dug up? And I just like to have an answer for my question. Maybe the Associated Press could quit worrying about changing the tone, the tenor of the presidential campaign, and worry about maybe a little bit about the country as far as the way it is right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only question that comes to my mind is, we talk about October surprises. Do you think we might see a 25th Amendment type of a maneuver or a card played at some point?
It's a great question, Alan. And my question is it gone too far? Because let's just say that a 25th Amendment move would happen now where the vice president and the cabinet would decide that this has gone far enough and it's time for Vice President Harris to take over. Then, of course, the question would be, why now?
Mm-hmm.
Why now, not then? But there's another side to that. Is the surprise that's coming the idea that that's what they fully intend to do? And this comes to the short field. Short field is the fact that after the convention will only be, the Democratic convention will only be 70 some odd days from voting. Not even 70 days, where early voting will begin.
You'll be inside of a month to early voting.
Yeah, that's right, because of Pennsylvania.
You'll be inside. Yeah, you'll be roughly that third week in September. There's a few states that have some trigger mechanisms
that actually start voting. So you would send out a new campaign, a new candidate in a honeymoon period into a field that short to give that person a tremendous advantage over their opponent, no matter who it was, because everybody's fascinated with the new change. So they waited as long as they could to roll the president out of the campaign to move Kamala Harris in. Will they do exactly the same thing when it comes to the presidency? If the polling numbers begin to show that the Harris campaign is falling fast, will they make a 25th Amendment move so that the nation will be totally focused on the transition of power?
But I wonder if that would be so transparent that it would work against them.
That's a great question, Wade, but I feel like all of this has been this transparent. But if today's point, if you have the media kind of covering for this and giving it its own spin, I feel like they think they can get away with anything, which is sad.
Again, we study news sources, but we miss a lot of stuff because there's so much stuff out there. I mean, we could have 100 people on staff and we would miss stuff. So we're not claiming to have universal knowledge on this, but it is troubling that the same media that we're asking a question about now, if they were to make this move, is the same media that has not challenged the process the whole way along. Like, how can you let someone become the nominee of their party without ever having secured a vote in a primary election process at the state level?
Right. I feel like that's very obvious, but people aren't talking about it.
Yeah, nobody's talking about it. It's like
at least the mainstream is.
I mean, you'd have to believe that all of these people who are powerful people, John Podesta, George Soros, all the consultants, all these people that are behind the scenes, forget the talking heads on CNN. Those people are like way down the food chain. The people that are living this and have for 40 years of their life, that they didn't see any of this coming, that they were surprised.
And they should be looking around and asking the question, the mainstream media that is, and taking a look at what Kamala Harris' election record really is. Like, she almost didn't win a race in California, far left California. As a Democrat, she struggled in that. I believe it was the first one for AG. Then you look at the Senate run. Then you look at the Democrat primary run in 2020. What did that look like? No one's asking those questions.
Okay, I'm going to make a huge mistake right here.
Uh-oh.
All right, I heard a comedian who will remain nameless for right now because I don't want anyone to watch the special because it's not family appropriate at all. I heard a comedian the other day. I heard an excerpt of a comedian make the comment that if someone had come to us with Darwin's basic premise and said, "Here's an idea. I'm going to tell you that everything in the world came from monkeys," the first time you would have heard it, you would have said, "Right." Okay? And the point that the comedian was making was, depending on who's sourcing the information and how they're presenting the data, it can look a little shaky. I'm going to tell you, if you had said to me 2 years ago, "Here's an idea. Kamala Harris will become the nominee of her party, and she'll never secure a single vote through the primary, but Joe Biden will still be living and running the White House while she's out campaigning, and she'll get all the money," I would say, right, that's going to happen. And nobody is asking how it happened. Nobody's asking how. I thought that's what reporters were supposed to do. I thought that's what journalists were supposed to do. I thought that's what big news agencies. I would like to know. And here's the crazy thing about this. Call me nuts. But in a few years, somebody's going to write a book and all these questions are going to be answered.
Yeah.
but we're not allowed to ask for the answers now.
Okay, who's minding the store? We're going to have to leave it there for now, but it's not over, is it? We'll be back on the Public Square next time.
The Public Square is a broadcast service of the American Policy Roundtable.